Best thing to do, first of all, is to call out the bully and say, just stop it. But also a very good thing, and the very first thing to do, is to recognise it for what it is, and to think, well, I'm not being a crazy person. It's not me. I'm not being weak, which is often people turn in upon themselves and feel ashamed for being so weak that they can't hack it in this environment. People will often not want to come to us because they actually like the perpetrator. And that feeds back into the thing I said at the beginning, that it's not, you often don't have a bad person and a good person. There's just a whole dynamic of power play. And it's okay to it's actually helpful. If you like the harasser, you will probably sense that you like him, and it then should be, and often is, a lot easier to take the first informal step of saying, hold on, that's not acceptable. You may think it's funny, and I'm not, you know me, you know that I do laugh at a good joke, but I'm not laughing at this because it's actually not very funny. But people will hold back because they certainly don't want to complain about someone they like, and then a liked boss may still be a harasser, but that's not a reason to hold back and not complain about it. In fact, that should be one step forward to being able to complain about it, because if it's someone you like, it's someone who in some categories is respectable and will actually respect hearing your opinions. If you think something is going wrong at work and you can't quite put your finger on what it is, keep a journal, because it's when you start reflecting back on what has happened that you start to see the patterns. Because often harassment is not perpetrated by one person, it's not just one manager, but often it is one manager or one particularly dominant personality who also is a harasser, who brings everyone else on board because everyone wants to be friends or wants to be in with that harasser or bully, you could call it, to use another term. So you're not always ending up in trial. I mean, most people who come to us, 95% of cases, civil cases, actually settle before trial. And the defendants will say how terrifying it will be to go to trial. But actually, the defendants will usually cave in because they realise that it's they're on the wrong side of the argument, because no one really wants to be arguing that this is not harassment when we're putting out all the evidence to show that it is. And remember, you don't need to show much. I mean, it's everyday conduct, which, if it's done with the intention of excluding someone, is harassment. First of all, it's always good to go internally to, like, the Equality Office in a university. If you're at work, it would be you go to HR. If they are fairly lame, because of course they're made up with people who often just want to get home at 5 o'clock, they want to keep everything even and not upset anyone, then you go to lawyers. That's the only thing. And I think it is good. People will often say, you don't want to be a troublemaker. It's not, you're not being a troublemaker, you're actually doing a social good, going to a lawyer and calling people out and calling them out publicly. And there are not many people who have the guts to do that, to either take a case and then to go public with it. But there's nothing wrong with going public. It's good to do that, and it shows other people, encourages other people to speak up, to have a voice where people think they're not going to have one.